everyone, welcome to our channel. Rebecca Stu and the crew. Today's Thursday, so we have a new Dollar Tree DIY. We'll be making these lanterns and candles for a centerpiece. So let's go over our supplies first. We'll use one of these Dollar Tree lanterns, some ribbon and string of your choice. We'll need a few of these plastic napkin rings, some spray paint, any color that you like, one of these chopping mats from Dollar Tree, and some different pieces of floral of your choice. I'm going to use the white flowers, some greenery, and some berries. We'll use a candle plate from Dollar Tree, two of these small glass votives, also from Dollar Tree, some floral foam. We're also going to need a piece of paper and a pencil. We'll need the double-sided crafting tape from Dollar Tree, some hot glue, some of these magnetic buttons, and scissors. So let's get crafty. First thing we're going to do is just pop the top off of these large lanterns that Dollar Tree has out. They have them in 3 different colors, green, red, and white. The candle just slides out. You just give it a little turn, it comes right apart. And then what we're going to do is we're going to remove these Christmas trees from the lantern. So I was able to do this very easily with just a pair of scissors. If your scissors won't go through, you could always try the dog nail clippers from Dollar Tree. I use those to cut through dowel rods and small pieces of wood like all the time. Works really good on the wires for flowers also. They actually work better than the wire cutters that Dollar Tree sells. So once we get the little Christmas tree and the present off, we'll continue to do that all of the way around. And then you can hold on to the Christmas trees. You can use them in another craft. So then we are going to take these chopping mats from Dollar Tree, and we are also going to be using a piece of paper and a pencil. So we're just going to lay the lantern on top of the paper and trace the inside of the lantern with our pencil, and then trace around the outside, and that's going to give us our pattern that we're going to use to help cut our mat to give a faux frosted glass look to our lantern. So all you're going to do is cut the first 2 sides here, and then take that piece of paper on that line that you drew and just fold it right in half. That way you have your first section. So we'll just have to cut 2 pieces of the plastic out. It's just easier to do 2 sections than it is to try to do all 4 at the same time. Plus the mat's not big enough to do 4 pieces to go all the way around the lantern. So it's easier to do the 2 pieces here. So once we have the paper cut out, just stick that inside of the lantern and see how it fits, and then fold it up underneath of that little edge and then crease it, and that's going to help you know where you need to trim the paper off. So when it's underneath of that little ledge there, if it folds over, that's what you're going to need to cut off, because you want it just big enough to fit into the corner without pushing the second piece that we're going to make out of the way and causing it to bubble. So I hope that makes sense. So as you can see here, I just keep fitting it until I see that it is laying nice and flat without any bubbles. And then I'll make a second piece exactly like this, but we'll do that on the cutting mat. So we're just going to trace around this piece of paper that we just made this template with just a pencil. And then once you have the first piece done, just remove that and then lay it on the top of the cutting mat and do the exact same thing. So now we have our second piece drawn, and now we'll just cut these out with scissors. And you'll want to erase your lines once the whole thing is cut out. You could even use like a baby wipe or just soap and water to remove the pencil marks. Now, when you first trim this down, you still may need to trim it a little bit more, but we'll check that out later. So now that we have all of our pieces apart on the lantern, we're going to spray paint this. So I chose just to use the cheap 97-cent spray paint from Walmart in the color black, and it took 2 coats to get it to completely cover. Even though I was doing it on top of a green lantern, I thought it would cover a little bit better, but it's kind of cheap spray paint, so it did take 2 coats here. So there's the ring for the top, the lantern, and then the very top of the lantern. So once this dried out in the sun for a few minutes, I just flipped them over, and then we will spray paint the inside. You are able to see most of the lantern, so Even with the faux glass inside, you want to make sure that you have it painted just to make sure that it all looks uniform. So now that's all dry. Here's what it looks like. And then we take our plastic sheets that we cut earlier and we're just going to crease these in half. And then we'll pop those inside to see how they fit. You want to be careful not to scrape along the edge of the lantern because it will scrape the paint off. So once that fits, we're going to take some black ribbon and we're going to cut 8 pieces that are long enough to go diagonal across the lantern, and we'll cut 2 pieces for each side, so it's 8 pieces of ribbon altogether. And this is just Dollar Tree ribbon. You get 9 yards for $1, so it's plenty to get 8 pieces for the lantern here. And then we're taking that Dollar Tree craft tape, that's double-sided tape, and we're going to create these X's on our plastic sheeting. And so we'll do the first diagonal piece first, and we'll trim off any excess, and then you're just going to attach your ribbon. And once you have the first diagonal done, you'll trim off any excess ribbon that's hanging over the top and the bottom. And then apply another piece of your double-sided tape to make the rest of the X here. Do that for both sides and then repeat the same process. Just trim it, peel off that backing to your double-sided tape and apply the ribbon that we've already pre-cut. And you'll do this exact same process to the second piece of plastic sheeting that we cut earlier. Now when you go to put this in the lantern, you may want to add a little dot of hot glue into the corner where it folds at, just to help hold it in place. That way if you grab the lantern, you're not accidentally pushing that plastic sheeting inwards. So then just replace your candle. So here's what the whole thing looks like so far. And then you'll replace your top. Just make sure you line up those little notches and then pop it together. And then you'll replace the little ring on the very top. So then I had these really pretty white ferns. They're like snow-covered ferns from Dollar Tree. I pulled off 2 small pieces and glued those to the top corner. And then I'm taking some buffalo plaid ribbon from Dollar Tree and I'm making a bow. So you just fold it over on itself a few times to create a big loop, like a layered loop. And then you'll take some twine or some ribbon and you'll just tie the very center in a knot and then just flip off the little loops of your bow. This works best with wired ribbon, but it will work with ribbon that doesn't have a wire in it. It's just a little bit harder to get the loops to stay where you put them. So now we'll glue this small bow to the top right in the center of our white snowy ferns. Then I took this little white berry from another piece of Dollar Tree floral and I glued that right to the center of the bow, and then I had some little pearls and I glued those to either side of the berry, only because I only had one of the white berries left. And I wanted it a little bit bigger in the center of the bow there, so I added some pearls to the sides. You can add extra berries if you like. So now we're going to take the floral foam, that candle dish, and these magnetic buttons, and we're going to cut about a 4-inch piece tall of the foam. And then that little round metal piece that the magnetic buttons come on, we're going to use that in the craft. So we're going to go ahead and just put some hot glue on there, wait for it to cool down for a second before you put it on your foam, and then just attach it right to the center of your piece of foam. So then we're going to glue 3 of the magnetic buttons to the bottom of our lantern. This will help us to be able to remove it, to turn it on and off, and also to replace the batteries if we need to. So now we're going to glue that piece of foam to our glass candle plate. Again, let the glue cool just a little bit before you attach it. As you can see, we can just attach our lantern, take it on and off as we need to. So now we're going to take some white flowers from Dollar Tree, the poinsettias. I just cut the stems off using those dog nail clippers. It cuts right through. It's the best thing ever. I'm telling you guys, they work so much better than the wire cutters do. So now we're just going to add a little bit of glue and start popping that into the floral foam all the way around until we have it as full as we want it to be. So I started with the white poinsettias. I think I had 7, and so I filled them in as best I could. Then I did have one of the really large white poinsettias that come with like a little clip on the back. So I actually glued that one to the front just because I ran out of flowers and I wanted it to be a little bit fuller than what I had it. So I just kept filling in the flowers as I went around. And then it was a little bit easier to just remove the lantern and finish adding the flowers. Just be mindful you don't glue them too close to the top so that you're able to put the lantern on easily without the flowers knocking it off. And I took some more greenery and I just kept filling in the base to make it a little fuller. I took these eucalyptus leaves and I kind of give them a little twist and then poke those through the floral foam all the way around just to add little pops of green all the way around. So now we're going to take this large ribbon, a napkin ring, and one of these votives. And we're going to do one at a time, but we're going to make 2 bows here. And we're doing the same process to make a bow, just a larger bow than we put on the lantern. You're just going to keep folding it over and making this big loop. And then you'll tie it right in the center. Then once you have your bow tied off, again, you're just going to take those loops and fluff them up as best you can. And then, you can make the bow as large as you want. These votives are kind of small, so I didn't want to make them too large, but I wanted them large enough that they kind of matched the base of the lantern with all the flowers around it. Then I had this white snowy eucalyptus leaves, and we just attached that to the bow. I just pulled them apart off of the stem. And I glued 3 pieces to the bow. I did the same for the other bow. And then you want to take your napkin ring. We just needed to add a little bit of height to these votives. It just helped it to look a little nicer. So we're going to attach this to the bottom of the votive. And then flip it over. And then when we're done, all we're going to do is attach our bow to the very bottom. Just make sure you don't do it too low because you want to make sure that you're able to have the votive stand up without fear of it knocking over. And just repeat the same process for the second votive and then stick it all together just side by side, and you have this beautiful centerpiece for your winter decorations. You could even add some more votives to the back side so that you have the same candles on the front and the back just to help it have a view all the way around if you like. Or if you're going to just set this on a table with a wall behind it, you don't have to add the extra candles and things. So it's really up to you. And there's so many different options you could do. There's lots of different colors you could paint it, different floral and ribbon. I just really thought the white and the black would look nice for our table decor this year. I hope you guys enjoyed learning how to make this craft with me. I really enjoyed showing you. We do our DIY videos and post those every single Thursday. Here's a few that we've made so far this year. And then every single Friday, I post what is new for the week at the Dollar Tree. I go to about 4 to 5 different Dollar Trees in our area, take as many pictures of all the new things that I can find, and post those every Friday. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And here are some other videos from our channel you might also enjoy. Have a great night, everyone.